It's that time once again. We're going live. Now let's see. Is my microphone on full? Okay, I think that's it. That's all the juice I can get out of this. Hello and welcome. It's time once again for One on One. My name is Titi, and my phone rings. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. I need to put that on DND for a bit. Okay, got it. Please bear with me on this. Okay. All right. So, yeah, one on one today is going to be a tasty session. We're going to be talking to a chef. And when you have a chef in the building, you know it's going to be a fiery conversation. We have a really interesting individual joining us today. And yeah, her name is Jessica Munisamy. Chef Jessica is going to be joining us. But let me tell you what she's going to be talking about. Today's conversation is on sustainability on a plate, how chefs can lead the way in the food waste reduction and ethical sourcing side of things. Today's episode is about talking to a culinary expert known for her innovative Indian cuisine and leadership at Modern Tailors. Chef Jess is going to be discussing her advocacy for sustainable food practices, ethical sourcing, and minimizing food waste while maintaining a high-end dining experience. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to how she blends her traditional Indian recipes with modern techniques, influenced by her time in Dubai and Doha, and her role in empowering women in the culinary industry. Once again, this is One on One, and it's time for another inspiring episode. Today's topic merges culinary artistry with responsibility and sustainability on a plate. Chef Jessica is joining us here. Hi, Chef Jess.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Okay, I'm
Thank you
so pleased
so
to meet you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Thanks for taking our time to join us today.
Most
Thank you.
definitely, anytime, for sure.
All right,
So,
so I have Executive Chef Jess right here. So can I reduce that to Chef Jessica? I
yeah,
can, right? All right, I
CFO,
got you.
definitely, because that looks like way too much of letters in there.
But you are a culinary expert. You're one of those people
I
that
try to.
oh, you probably have an answer to every question, don't you?
It's,
When it comes to
I
food.
try not to. I try not to. To be very honest with you, I try not to. This is one of my biggest challenge with going out anywhere or eating anything or anything to do with hospitality. I'm like, I think my family have the biggest fear because they always like, please don't comment, don't say anything, just enjoy the meal. But yeah, one of the challenges, unfortunately.
Yeah. So is it always a conversation talking about how nutritious a meal is, or how much money the meal costs, or how tasty the food is? Which one comes up first?
For me, it's taste. It's always taste first.
Okay.
Ideally, yes, at a later stage, we'll talk about everything else. But my ability to put together dishes and talk about flavors that go into it and layering of different spices and textures, that is the most important thing for me. It's all about flavor.
Flavor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
Now, some would say that a lot of people have gone out of their way and done really crazy things to get interesting flavors on the plate. Some of which are not very sustainable, some of which harm the environment, some are really terrible for global warming. They're hurting our oceans, etc., etc. You know where I'm going
Yes.
with that.
Yeah.
But
Totally. Yes.
we're here to talk about sustainability. Talk to us about why that's important.
I think most importantly for our industry right now is number one is, I mean, our suppliers and getting all of the products organically grown and sourced internally. I mean, with our ingredients, um, we failed to actually utilize the entire product to the full capacity. So, when I talk and I look at a bunch of coriander, for example, we'd use the leaves into a salad or into a dish, and we throw away the stems. However, the stems have the most flavor in it. Taking that down in pulping it out, making it into a water, cooking that down, incorporating into a brine or dressing or something like that. Um, for us in the kitchen, we try to use anything and everything within our operation, because it just, number one, sustainability is most important. Number two, every single product has its own beautiful, how can I say, flavor or texture that it can bring to a dish.
Yeah.
So it's all about learning the ingredient, which is so important to learn about it. I mean, I remember when I was in chef school and we were taught, we'd always have bowls in front of us where we're doing our prep and we're peeling the onions and putting our wasted in there, where it gets weighed out and thrown out and disposed of. Whereas
Yeah.
now we've got our bowls in front of us, we wash our ingredients, cut it off, we take it, we see what's good enough to use, and we put it into a pot of stock, or
Wow.
we caramelize it and we use it into a jam, or we
Mm.
dehydrate it and use it into a garnish so there's so many different ways to utilize the ingredient. And it's just about us as
Right.
chefs is taking the extra effort to know your product, know your ingredient,
Mm.
and know how to use it. That's one of our main things that we will try to do and incorporate at Modern Tailors.
Very true. Very true. Everything you said is really hitting home. And for those who are just tuning in, it's one on one. Chef Jessica and I are talking about sustainability on the plate. And we're talking about food plate here.
Yes,
Global demand for ethical sourcing and sustainability continues to rise, and chefs like Chef Jessica are leading the way in redefining how food is prepared and consumed. Now, you've already started breaking down your approach. I'm thinking about um, sometimes when we okay, so I'm just thinking about the worldview. Whenever you think of executive chefs and
yes,
expensive restaurants, you think
yes,
about huge plates with tiny amounts of food in the center,
yes, exactly,
and it looks very elegant and very stylish. But then you think about how much effort went into
into
putting
it.
together that tiny dish.
Correct.
Try and give a layman's view on how exactly this works, and how we can be more sustainable in that particular line of things.
Correct. So in that sense, a lot of people always, like you said, focus on what's on the plate, and that little hors d'oeuvre that you would look at on the plate that just represents something so beautiful in there. The amount of time that would go into peeling, cutting, carving, flavoring, different cooking methods, like we'd steam it or we'd first broil it, and then we'll take it and sous vide it, and then roast it, and then brown it before it actually reaches your plate. Um, you think to yourself, I mean, I always used to ask this question as well. It's like, oh my God, what are you doing with the rest of the potato? Because you've only used that much on my plate. Um, but we actually take it and we reuse it into stocks, into soups, into mashed potatoes. We create our alternative meals or dishes that utilizes those portions, so we can actually not waste them and make use of them.
So, so now there are some really interesting conversations going on in this space. But
Hmm.
I feel like we've jumped right in, and we've not really talked a bit about your journey, your
Yes,
role as executive chef. I want us to sort of backtrack and talk about what sparked
right.
your passion for being so sustainable with your food practices.
I think it purely came down to my childhood. I obviously grew up in an average household. I went to a public school, and I was very blessed when my dad moved me to a semi private school who had a chefing course in high school. That is when my love for the food kind of kicked in. I had the most amazing teacher who brought through chefing in such an amazing way that it brought me solace, as well as in terms of just gave me so much creativity and knowledge Once I decided that I was going to be a chef and I studied, it was quite difficult because my dad didn't really accept it. He refused to pay for my studies, and he was like, okay, you're going to do that, because he wanted me to be a doctor, of course. And I took a loan out, a student loan out. I worked and I paid back and I studied as well. When I believe my actual exposure to food came in was when I reached Dubai. With the amount of
Mm.
staff that I worked with and the communities and the cultures that I got exposed to, it was amazing. So overseeing five huge restaurants over there, and I had like close to 278 staff that I was overseeing. I had such a burst of influence and culture. um, that is where I started to learn about different foods and Sri Lankan, Indian, Goan, Egyptian, Lebanese. I really got in depth into it, Nepali, Nigerian food, all of those things. So I had such a vast variety of stuff that every day. So I used to get the guys to take chances at cooking staff meal, and I'd go and spend time with them. Okay, what are we making today? And all right, we're making chili chicken. Okay, we're doing kippe, or we're doing feta. And I'd sit there and I'd learn and I'd look at them and I'd think to myself, oh my word, we have such similar ingredients in our countries, if that we've been exposed to. And I would have never thought that we could create these kind of dishes with exactly what we have homegrown. My exposure there also brought so much awareness on our level of produce that Africa produces. It's amazing, because
Yeah.
everything is just there, and you've got this. You go into a Spanish store and you see South Africa and this place, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we not seeing this back home? Because I have asked that question, like, where's it
Yeah.
going? Why are we not getting access to it? And that's where we also, I feel, we fall short of, because as a country, we're supposed to be, looking out for our people, and using our
True.
produce firsthand before we're sending it out there. So we're not even getting access to the most beautiful produce that we create down here.
So I think they I don't know whether, well, it is a sort of like a business practice. They sell most of the good stuff to people outside
Outsource.
the country because they make
Yes,
more money that way. And a lot
correct.
of foods are subsidized once,
Yes.
once it's from your country. So I
From your
guess I
country,
get it.
exactly.
Yes, I get it.
It's a give and
Yeah.
take kind of thing.
So the power just came back on just now. We talked about this earlier before, yes? Now I'm
Yes,
trying
we
to
did.
put everything back together and act like nothing happened. But
It's okay.
all right then. But
Yeah.
but thank you so much for sharing that. I have to say there's quite a few quite a few opportunities
Mhm.
for people to, should I use the term conserve, or be more conscious of what they
Conscious.
use.
Yes.
Uh,
Agree.
but it's also something different to be very intentional about it, and
Hmm.
like actually put pen to paper and write things down. For instance, I started let's say a few months ago with my kids. I don't throw away my eggshells anymore. I don't throw
Yes.
away my onion skins and potato peels anymore. It took a while.
Right.
It was a struggle to get them to put it in a particular basket, and then
Yes.
eggshell in a zipper bag, and
Yeah.
then trying to find something to use them for. So, for instance, my
Right.
eggshells I use as a sort of like a fertilizer in my
Fertilizer.
garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
I'm doing sort of mini composting myself. But
Right.
then when it comes to the eating part, I'm not
Yes.
sure how to be more sustainable on that. So I'm talking about from a
Right.
layman point of view. You're thinking
Yeah.
about the restaurants, the big
Yes.
budget places, but for the
Correct.
everyday person cooking at home, what sort of advice do you have for them? What can they do differently?
I think for me, most importantly, is just don't throw away your ingredients. For me, just taste it and see that you can actually get much more flavors from all of those parts that we don't use. I mean, we literally peel carrots and where we have recipes where we use carrot peels as a halwa and turn that into a dessert. So as well as, because we know kids won't just eat anything as well. So I always used to teach my nieces and nephews, and I'd want them to know that every single ingredient can be used in a sustainable way. So with down to peels, down to eggshells, like you were saying as well. Like certain people would have an egg white only and not an egg yolk. And when you use your egg yolk, utilize it into making a custard that you can use into a dessert at a later stage and keep in your fridge. Um, right now, I think with everybody, with cabbage leaves,
Mm.
cauliflower stems, like, because I know I grew up throwing that away. We clean it off, we
I,
take it and we throw it away. But
it's so
if you
sad.
Exactly, but you take one of those cauliflower stems, you season them out with salt and pepper and garlic, you roast
Mm.
them in your oven for a little while, cool it
Wow.
down, and blend it into a puree. Done. You've got a
Wow.
puree over there that you can utilize into a sauce, add it onto
Wow.
a bread with some cheese. You
Mm.
There's so many ways to use it. And it's just, I think, with us going a little bit further and being more conscious, like you said before, on the products that we use and what we can use it again for.
Mm. Mm. I, it's so I think it's about being more efficient,
Definitely.
and then of course intentional.
Yes.
So are there, what do you think the statistics actually look like? What is it looking like now? We have a lot of big international hotels, great, amazing hotels that are, they say they're trying to reduce their carbon footprint,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
They say it, they have
Mhm.
meetings about
Yeah.
it. But you know what I'm talking about. You're the
Yeah.
one that sees, we don't see inside the kitchen.
Correct.
You
Correct.
you are the one
I
that
mean,
knows what goes on there. Statistically
ser-
speaking, how bad
statistically,
is it?
I think it's quite bad.
Hmm.
Statistically, I think it's quite bad. I mean, I go in, I visit friends in the industry, I go around to certain restaurants. Obviously, I walk through the kitchen, see how's it going. And the first thing, it's a habit of mine, is I look through the garbage. I'll always
Wow.
look through the garbage. I'll walk past the binnies out there. I'll be like, a waiter comes in to throw stuff out. I'm like, okay, what's in there? Whoa, you could have used that pepper. Whoa. And then I always communicate, and I know this is where I come in as a chef and I'm so unfiltered. And I'm
Mm,
like, yo, like, how are you running a business like that? How are you sustaining a business if you're taking that product, which can be
mm,
reused into something else, or, worked into a dish, and you throwing it away? And, it comes back to the fact of the matter is that you throwing that away, I always think further in saying that that can be saved and used into another dish, which can
mm,
increase our profit margin, which can help us increase our capacity to pay salaries at a higher rate, or to, incorporate more overtime that's needed when we need it, kind of thing. I always look at it in
yeah.
that way, and it's the truth. It is the truth, because I mean, I can look at certain businesses and I've seen them like waste, money away in terms of just not managing their stock in a correct way.
I
It's
actually have no idea how you do it.
it's
But so the truth is, you mentioned when you do your inspections, you do
Yeah.
your tour, you're
Hmm.
visiting friends,
Yes.
but not
Yes.
everyone's going to let you look in their bin, are they? Not everyone's going to let you
They
into
never
their kitchen.
do. They never do. But luckily, my eye is sharp enough.
But then again, that would lead us to talk about the challenges you've had on this journey. What sort of challenges have you faced trying to offer up the opportunity for people to sort of improve when it comes to sustainability?
I think it's every day. It's a challenge every day. Even with my team, it's about being proactive. First of all, you've got to be in there. You've got to be involved. You've got to be walking around. You've got to be talking about it, and you've got to, number one, also teach them. Teach our fellow team members and what it can be used for, what can be done with it. I think it's what I've learned with my team is that once I've explained to them the outcome of not being sustainable, we literally have, I can't even explain to you. They come to me and they're like, Chef, but why can't we use this and add it to the green water instead of just, rinsing over and throwing off the tips of the roots? And then we'll sit
Mm.
down, and then they have, I have, I'm so proud of them, because my guys come up to me, because obviously I'm focused on so many other things all the time as well. But they'll come in and be like, Chef, okay, let's not do this with the roots. Instead of throwing it away, let's roast them, or let's utilize it in our green water right now. We'll blend it out, we'll strain it out. You're still going to get the flavor. You're not going to get the color that you want, but it's okay. We can use the leaves to get the color that we want. And that makes me so proud. That makes me so proud, because that's what I want them to be. I want them to be aware of the situation, the awareness of everything that's going on within the world right now.
And there is quite a bit happening, I have to say.
Too much.
In terms of those challenges I was talking about,
Hmm.
getting people on board, getting people to
Yes.
understand and recognize, getting people to care, I
Yeah.
think is key. And what I've found is a lot of people need to be scared into it.
Yeah.
um, scare tactics sadly
It's
have worked.
successful. It
So what
does.
are the scary that people need to know now, that someone right now is listening and doesn't understand why they need to take such measures?
Correct. So ideally, I always talk to them about my food cost. Like, I'd be like, guys, if we don't utilize our ingredients in the correct manner, our food cost is going to increase, which is not going to decrease our bottom line, because I'm very active with my team in terms of keeping them in the loop of anything and everything that's going on. If I see purchases going up, if I see purchases going down, I go and I pat them on the back. It's so important to keep them informed in that sense. And for me, it's that's enough. I think they've got enough scare tactics from me when I lose my temper, when they do something wrong in my kitchen. But so when I sit down and say to them, and I call them together, and they know I don't huddle them, together unless it's something of serious note. They do listen. Obviously, I've had challenges where I've had multiple staff members who's challenged me, and it's like, no, no,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. And then you come to a point where I call you into the office and I sit you down and I'm like, it's either you want to work with the team or you're not going to work with the team, or you're not. You work with
Wow.
them in increasing, our operations, helping our operations run in a proper manner, and to make sure our SOPs are followed, or you're not going to work with the team, which is not going to help, because
Wow.
we are a family here. We need to do things
Mm,
together. So I
mm.
need you to come on board, because we can't be fighting against you. This is always my thing with them. I can't fight against you. Let's fight this together, but I don't want to fight against you.
I have a quick look at the website here,
Yeah.
Modern Tailors website. There,
Right.
I was a little confused when I saw Modern Tailors
Yes.
as the name.
Yes.
And I asked my producer, I was like, Modern
Yeah.
Tailors, really? What? Sure, it's the right. Are you sure?
It
I
is.
need you to let us in what Modern Tailors is all about.
So Modern Tailors is pretty much a little dream come true. Our owners had gone for a vacation, had come across in India this little Modern Tailor nookie shop on the corner that had tiffins. It was a tailoring shop, but on the other half of it, it's got like tiffins, and they were selling food out of it. And he was so inspired by that, by the fact that you've come across these guys that's authentically working, and they're hustling like they should be hustling, and they cooking this food on one side and they're doing tailoring on the other side. For our first store
Mm.
that we opened up, we were so blessed in that sense. We are just post COVID, and we opened the doors, and it was such an amazing success for us. We were so blessed. We had
Oh,
such great feedback.
it it
Hey.
keeps skipping. The website, the web page keeps changing to this cover. I'm not sure whether
So
this is an
that is our
ad,
pop-up. So that's our
a pop
pop-up
up.
ad for our new store, which is the one which,
Oh, okay,
yes.
okay,
So we've just recently
fantastic.
opened
Now
in
I got
Victoria. There we go.
beautiful,
Um,
beautiful.
and we try
It's
to
a nice
keep
site.
the authenticity of our food to be as Indian as
Mm.
possible, but we really modernize it as well as with playing of flavors, incorporating cultures into the dishes. Because
Ooh,
I love playing around that. It's really just one of my favorite
that
things to
looks
do.
so beautiful. That
It
looks
is.
so beautiful.
Thank you
This is
so
in
much.
Rosebank. Rosebank
This
in
is the Rosebank
Joburg, I
store.
believe.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes, Joburg. Yeah. So we've
Oh,
recently opened in
this is
Pretoria.
lovely.
Well, about 2 months old. A bigger store, a beautiful store as well. Great location in Groenkloof Plaza in Pretoria. And we just wanted to
Oh,
bring in. Yeah, that was our
mm.
opening.
Is that you?
Yeah, it
You right
is.
there? That's you in
Back
the.
then, back
Oh,
then. Yeah, we were just such. It was beautiful moments. It was definitely so.
mm, I can
So
I can imagine. Mm.
when you
This
come
looks
to
like some.
visit,
I
it
I
is.
need to come to South Africa
You
sometime
should.
soon.
You
I
must. You
need to
must. So you literally walk
do.
in, like our tables are single sewing machine. You know the bottoms where the pedals. They
Yeah.
those. We've got
Oh, I
threads
can
all over.
see. I
We
can see it right.
yes, correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
we've got threads of linen all draped throughout the restaurant. We're all about tailoring and modernizing Indian food.
Amazing, amazing. Now I have to say thank you to you for talking to us today. I want to
Thank you.
touch on something though that is key, and if I don't touch on it, I would be amiss if I didn't touch on it.
Yeah.
The fact that you're a woman in in an industry that okay, so let's basically talk a bit about gender equality
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
culinary world. You've been a
Hmm.
trailblazer for women in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Now it's still a male dominated space. It's one of those things, but I'm wondering
Yes.
what you've been doing to encourage more women to step into leadership roles in the
Oh,
culinary industry. Let's
definitely
talk a bit
so.
about
I mold them to the best of my ability. With any, if I look at my team, and even if you come down and you have a look at my team, you'll see that majority of them are females. Um, I've had my chefs cry, resign, said they can't do this, they can't work this hours. And I sit them down and I sit and talk about, do you know how hard we are struggling to make a name for ourselves in this industry? I know I still do it. I still fight for that respect. I remember the tears that I cried with my chefs throwing things at me and speaking to me in a certain manner and telling me that I'm not never going to be anything. And I sit them down and I'd always remind them that we are such strong human beings and all we want to do is have the ability to be strong human beings equally. That's it, you know?
that.
And I swear to you, every single one of my girls sit down, we cry together, we laugh together, we get through it together. Anything and everything I know, I always try to teach them to the best of my ability. I push them to their limits. I force them to learn more because I want them to grow. I want them to be better. And I want them to make their mark because every one of us deserves to.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
have a comment here from Sandra. She's watching and listening from LinkedIn right now. She
Oh,
says she's
awesome.
enjoying this conversation. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
that
Thank
comment,
you.
Sandra. And now, if you are watching or listening online, you have a question, the comment section below on whatever platform you're listening or viewing us from is open. We'll be able to respond to your questions right now before we wrap up. Speaking of wrapping up, I wanted to talk a bit about the fact that you said you worked in Dubai, you worked in
Yes.
Doha for a
Yes.
while, and now you're in SA trying to fuse Indian dishes. It's a lot.
It is.
It's probably one of those. So let's talk about the experiences that led you or shaped you
Yeah.
to lean towards Indian cuisine.
I think that, obviously I'm Indian, you know. I try to be very honest with you, I tried to avoid even going in that way. If anyone would tell you in my beginning years in chefing, wherever I I worked, I never focused on Indian food at all. When I decided to come back to South Africa, and when I met Paul and Mickey, and they pretty much told me about the idea and about this brand, and the love and the passion that they had for this project is what struck it for me. Um, and then I remembered that I was exposed to so much of knowledge when it comes to food from my teams abroad. Um, and I was like, my God, I've got knowledge right now. Why not bring it to South Africa? Why not bring it home, and teach and give our people a taste of what I got abroad. Because something that I always often say to everyone is that we sit and we talk about five-star dishes, we talk about these beautiful food and all of those things, and what we want to do is we just want to bring a five-star experience to an average person. And it doesn't need to be an arm and a leg that's going to in terms of cost. um, and we can do that with anything and everything that we have at home. And with I remember learning so much of food with even in our staff accommodation, sitting down with them on the floor and eating together, just like a rice with a dal, or having a Filipino dish where, shocking enough, it used to be a rice with just vinegar, tomatoes, onions, lemon juice, and garlic. I'd sit down and I'd learn so much about their culture, about where they came from, and the struggles they've been through. And it's humbled me, because I've been so blessed to have experienced so many things all over this world. And there they are, sitting there having rice with vinegar and tomato and onions. And that's what I want. I want those type of people to have the ability to experience a five-star experience, not because
Yeah.
they don't earn enough. It's because I want them to know that they have the opportunity to do that, and we should do that as any and everybody in this hospitality industry, as chefs. That's what we are about. We're about food. We're not about the check. We're not about the bowl. We're not about anything. We're about the food, and the story our food tells.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to say, thank you to you, Chef Jessica, for talking to us today. Can you believe 30 minutes has gone by already? I
Wow.
have to say,
Yeah.
um, I would love to connect with you later on, maybe on LinkedIn. Is that
Okay.
possible?
Yes.
On
Yes.
LinkedIn?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I'm not sure what to search for here.
My name
Munisamy,
is, yes.
yes,
Yeah.
just okay. May, right? Uh,
MUNI is the MY. Yeah.
Munisamy. Okay. All
Correct.
right. Good. All right. I'm checking you out there now. And then, of course, anyone who's listening right now can also reach out to her online if they have a question or they want to connect, or maybe find out how they can be a little bit more sustainable when it comes to what they put
Definitely.
on their plate.
That
Thank
would
you
be
so
amazing.
much. It's a wrap for
Thank
today's
you. Thank you
episode.
so much.
Chef.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I must say it was a pleasure.
Thank you so so much. Wow. Okay, the Jessica I'm seeing on LinkedIn looks a bit different. Loving the hair.
That's the cool one.
Is
That's
it
the
your
punk one. Yes, that's me.
twin? Do you have a twin? Do you have a twin? But it says
It's my
Gauteng.
twin girl.
South
Yeah.
Africa. All right then. Please update it, and I'm
Awesome.
connecting with you on LinkedIn now, so we can
Awesome.
chat later.
Thank you so
Whenever
much.
I will be
Do.
visiting.
Please do let me know. I want you to experience Modern Tailors. I'm sure you would absolutely love it.
I will. I will.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Bye.
Thank you. All right. Bye
Bye.
bye. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in, you just missed a really interesting conversation. Now, I had a chat with an amazing chef here, someone who's just given us a deeper understanding of how sustainability and leadership can transform not just kitchens, but in the entire culinary world when you think about it. Now, to all our listeners, to all our viewers, hopefully you found this discussion as enriching, as inspiring as I did. Thank you so, so much for joining us. Once again, my name is Titilayo Oyinson.